Let them have it.
I'm
Let the
actually
Nigerians will
finished.
have it.
Precious, you came at the
Hmm?
craziest time.
Telling you because I'm just hearing things being flown about. I'm hearing Kofi can't do this and
Nigerian men
Kofi
are
can't do that.
never beating the allegations. You're never beating the allegations. To find a Nigerian man that is faithful, is to say Jesus hasn't risen from the dead.
I mean,
It's impossible.
No. You're doing too much. You're doing too much.
I feel
You're
like
doing too
finding a
much.
black man that is faithful is it can be a bit tricky. So let's be real.
Okay. Wait,
You
but you're
know,
not saying
never
it's not
beating
true.
allegations.
You have to say it's not true. Otherwise,
No, Jesus
says
hasn't risen. That's the truth.
Oh, I
ah,
mean, Nigerian men are very hit and miss. I'm not even gonna sit here and say any different, but men in general, no.
Yeah, can you really separate Nigerian men from men in general?
yes,
Like,
because
how are they different?
your own Yoruba
No
ladies
other
say
country,
Yoruba demon.
Okay, all right. Okay, calm
no other
down.
country has got that.
The Yoruba
Listen,
demon.
hey guys, welcome to the Blackfoot 91. We are here giving you guys a live talking about is it impossible to find a man who won't cheat on you? And today we have three candidates who have obviously lit up our screens in the last few weeks, days, and months. We have Tubaba, Davido, and Banky W. And guess what they all have in common? The green, the white, and the green. And it's unfortunate but fortunate because they already have a title called Yoruba Demon, and we are just here to hopefully sprinkle a little bit of holy water on them and convert them back to the Holy Land. But no, all jokes aside, this is a real conversation we want to have. Is it possible? Is it impossible to find a man who won't cheat? We've been hearing stories about Davido recently as well. He's been having some crazy things happen on his side. Tubaba, another, Banky W, another as well. We've been having. I've got a few clips I'll play for you guys so you can actually watch it. But today we're gonna have that kind of conversation. Listen, audience, if you're here and you're new, make sure you like it, you share, you subscribe, you click on that bell button for the notifications of the uploads, okay, as well. And those who've got mineral, those who have returnees, you already know what it is. You got the minerals, okay. I'm joined by some great guests today, and this is the UK panel as well. So make sure you guys enjoy. So I'll let them introduce themselves. Jay, go for it first, then Max, and then Precious.
hey everyone, it's Jay Anderson here. You know me by now. Some days I can be a bit controversial. Some days I'm just cool. I just want to thank all of you just for joining us every single week. I hope you're loving us from the UK, hearing our thoughts, hearing our opinions, just how different that we may be. We love you. We hope that you love us.
Love that. Max, go for it.
It's Max here for conversation. Today I might have to be defending the Nigerian man. It's a hard task, but sometimes you gotta sometimes you gotta support your own. Thank you.
No worries, Precious.
Hi, I'm Precious. It's been really fun being on this panel, honestly, even though all this Nigerian slander is really just becoming a lot.
You did
But
yourselves.
no. Yeah, I don't know how well I'm gonna be able to defend my people thems in the way that Max is, but I'm gonna be, on team Max here, and I'm gonna do what the best I can.
Love that. Love that. Well, listen, we're going to start strong and we're going to finish strong. So we're going to start off with a few videos. The first one I want to play for you guys is Banky W, because I think this is a really powerful video to start off with, because this is before he cheated and did his wife apparently dirty as well. So we're just going to play a little bit of Banky W and you'll see his impressive speech apparently. So you're going to see that as well. Let's have a little look, and hopefully my internet doesn't play up on me, guys, as well. Okay, here we go.
That moment for me, I felt like God had told me. I had a peace about being with her. I just knew that she was the one for me. But she couldn't really see it. And I remember one day I knelt down and I prayed and I said, God, you know how much I love this woman. You know how much I want to be with her. I said, she can't see it. So as you have told me, tell her yourself. And that's why I tell single people, don't go and tell somebody, God said you should be my wife, or God said you should be my husband. If anybody comes and tell you that, say, thank you. Let me go. We're all children of God. So if God spoke to you, then he can speak to your wife. So I told God, I said, for this thing to work, I said, first of all, I am never going to ask Adeswa to date me again. Never. I'm her friend though, but you see this, will you be? will you be my lover? I'm never gonna ask you. I told God, I said, you have to, if you want us to be together, go and tell her. So I left it at that. Now we're tight, we're close, we're speaking every day. In fact, in hindsight, these were the best times because we spent so much time building a real friendship. And it's important that the person that you end up with is your best friend. It should be the person that you can tell anything. It should be the first person that you want to talk to about anything that's going on.
Hallelujah.
So we're getting close, and I said, Lord, I'm not going to tell her nothing. I said, we're just going to be in this friend zone.
Glory to God.
Then I got a call one day. Shout out to Kemi Adetiba, and she said, hey, what Mo Abudu is doing this film called The Wedding Party. I want to send you the script. Do you want to come and audition? And I said, yeah, you know, because Kemi and I have been talking about going into movies all of our years and music videos. So I said, okay, I'll go and audition. So she gave me the script, and I started preparing for my audition. And I get there, and there were a lot of actors, a lot of people who obviously had a lot more experience than me. But I auditioned, and they gave me a callback. They said, oh, we want you to come for a second callback. I now found out that they had also called her to audition.
Look at Providence.
So we're both auditioning, and we go through the rounds of auditions, and then they now start pairing you. So they'll take you and pair you with 3.
Look at the Lord working. He paired them together so they would come together. Did the Lord not do it for them? Did the Lord not do it for them? I mean, he's been preaching for time about the love of this woman.
People you can talk to.
This guy's never been.
I don't thank God for anything in my life. I thank God for this woman. Because it's important to have somebody that you can share with. Somebody, pick the right person that you can talk to and say, this is my struggle. Can you pray with me? Can you hold me accountable? In the middle of my battles with pornography, when I would need to travel, I would keep this woman on the phone. I would keep her on the phone for hours because I didn't want to break. I'd be alone in the hotel room.
They are never been allegations. Ooh, maybe. Ooh, that's enough information from Banky W. Let's go to Baba.
Are wired like that. A man would love a woman to hell.
100%.
Or maybe he's somewhere.
Yeah.
His dick will just decide something.
No, he's mine, not his dick. It's not his own entity.
However you look at him.
Yeah.
He will fuck.
Even if he's married.
But he
and he's
will not
committed.
even give a fuck about that person. He just wants
So
to.
is that us? Yeah, you're talking about generally, or you're talking about yourself? That's what. Is this what you believe, or you're talking about gender?
It's what I believe.
Or is that you, or is that belief?
These guys are not being allegations. I could say that for free. And let's come on to our good brother Davido, because obviously some situation has happened. This young lady says she was pregnant by Davido. I can't play the whole clip because she got a little.
About to pee, and I gotta pee really bad. Ain't no test around, no other test on the floor, nothing. Fucking weirdos.
Listen, next clip.
You know, rest in peace to the child. Like, people knew about the baby, but nobody knew he got married. I'm in America. Nobody here knew. Sorry. Nobody knew. Nobody knows. It's not on a blog. It's not a big thing. If a man ain't telling me, then I don't know. And I wasn't checking for it because I'm not looking to get married. I'm not looking for that right now. So that wasn't something that I was in search for. I wasn't digging up anything like that. So no, I didn't know. I actually found out after the fact, and then I found out after the fact that I'm actually pregnant. So y'all are way off. Like, cut it out. Like, never. Maybe a fornicator, never an adulterer. Calm down.
That's right, sis.
Nobody's out here trying. You know, rest in peace to the child.
And we have this situation here. Another lady woke up and found out that she's not the only one that's pregnant by Davido. You know, these guys have never been allegations that are happening. Honestly, so she said she woke up this morning to find out that she's not the only one that is pregnant. She said, I woke up this morning to see that I'm not the only one pregnant. And then she wrote in French.
I've just done this, and
She's based in Paris.
I am fucking pregnant.
Havana.
Done this, and
This organization. Good
Wait,
afternoon,
it's a problem with the song.
Davido, I'm your friend to be among us tonight here in Paris. And it's like 3 years ago, we sealed the deal. And since that time, we for this organization. Good afternoon.
Yes, that's the show, and then she posts some of these. Something about I think they were talking about so Lol, cause I didn't send money. Lol, you funny, don't even be like that. Well, I never asked you for money. I'm not going to keep it to be safe. You proposed me money because you had a bad behavior, but I never and will never ask you for anything. I'm not all of your hoes, one of your hoes. I'll call you tomorrow, today, my wife. I'll call you tomorrow, today, my wife. God have mercy. Nigeria men, they don't know evil. How are you? I'm good. Just to go home in Nigeria. Home is always the best. You're going to the doctor tomorrow. They made me do a blood test and a radiology. I'm supposed to, yes. It's complicated in Paris. I'm unwell. No, please don't call me. I will. So the pill didn't work. I will tell you when it's done. I'm not allowing you to disrespect me like this. I'm not even fighting you. Women, be careful. God bless you. And by the way, I'm still pregnant. So you see you in less than 9 months. Now,
like,
baby.
You stand in front of like a white wall and take a picture and you cut it for like square. So you and her, you stand behind like a white background. Like you stand in front of like a white.
I guess that's an audio. All right, cool. Let's get to conversation because clearly the allegations are not getting beat. But we're here in this madness, right? So a whole lot of stuff has been happening. I guess the question we've got to really ask at the moment is first and foremost, is it impossible to find a man who won't cheat? And I've given you guys a little bit of a background, Davido, whole that situation. We'll discuss that in a minute or two. But I'm asking this main question, get you guys answers. Is it impossible to find a man that won't cheat? And this is your honest thoughts. Is it impossible to find a man that won't cheat? I guess we've got ladies on the panel, so we'll let them go first because we don't date men here. Precious, you rolled your eyes, so you can go. Is it impossible to find a man that won't cheat?
Yeah, because I think everyone's got the capacity to cheat. I think the reality situation is that everyone has the capacity to cheat. So to say that it's impossible is incorrect. I'd say there are some people out there who morally it goes against their morals to do so, and they would rather end the relationship or whatever before they even get to that point, and that's fantastic. But I think, it doesn't mean that even somebody who is morally against it could still do it. So yeah, I don't think it's impossible. I mean, I do think it's impossible, but I don't think that it's something that I don't know how to explain it. I think it's impossible to find someone that won't cheat because I think everyone's got the capacity to cheat, but I don't think that necessarily mean that they're going to, if that makes sense.
That's good answer. I like it. Charlene, is it impossible to find a man who won't cheat?
It's not impossible, but you know what? You have to find a man who is innocent. You're laughing already. Let me explain what I mean by innocent. Once you find somebody who has cheated and got away with it, it's a slippery slope. And there's this belief that they can get away with it again. And then it becomes part of their personality because now you don't feel good about yourself unless you've got multiple women and your woman at home. So now this is an ego stroke, okay? You need to find a guy, even if he has cheated, it needs to be years ago and he is a reformed character and would never do that again because he lost everything and he's learned his lesson, or somebody that has never, ever cheated and is unthinkable. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you. I almost was lost there. Max.
I don't think it's impossible to find a man that won't cheat.
Hallelujah.
I think that most women will find men that will cheat because I don't know if we're looking for the right things. So I feel like because everybody has the potential to cheat, and a lot of people do cheat. I think that it'd have to be really something that you are mindful of what you're looking for before you get into a relationship with a person. And I just think that maybe there isn't enough awareness or knowledge as to, oh, okay, these things are likely to lead to this kind of thing, or this example of this lack of discipline in this area of his life is likely to spill into this area of his life. So maybe there isn't enough knowledge for people to be able to identify those that won't cheat. So a lot of people are having the same experiences again and again. But no, it's not impossible for a man not to cheat. But it's not a lot of people's experiences that the man didn't cheat. So yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies, for that. Jay, do you believe our counterparts are these men? Are they just coming out the womb cheaters? Is this what it is?
Let me just say, you have a lot of Oliver Jacksons, you have a lot of Oliver Derricks, Ade Jacksons out there. Hopefully some people would have got the reference that I've just said and which particular country I'm referring to. But all jokes aside, I'm with the ladies in terms of, you know, I'm just going to say this. You have to have a man who is going to decide that he doesn't want to be that man. Is there a capacity to? Yes. As a man, we will tell you that, we'll be honest with you. It seems like when you don't even want to be that guy, there's a lot of ladies who will try and put you in a position where you will be that guy, and you have to be disciplined. So as much as we can come after men, you have to come after ladies too, who are happy to play that position knowingly. And, you know, if she's willing to do that, there's a lot of guys who are going to oblige. So you have to find a man who is, regardless of the situation, who's going to say no. A man who is happy putting boundaries there. And that goes both ways. It's, you know, and I feel like a lot of people live in hope instead of actually paying attention to the boundaries that the person should already have in place, by the way. Not now that they've met you, they have the boundaries, but that they should already have in place. If they don't, okay, cool. You speak about it. But there are still going to be things where you know deep down this is likely going to be an issue. So let's see how they operate, how they change. I'll even start boiling it down to when people are in particular industries. I'm not saying they will, but it's more likely they're going to be exposed to something, and it's more likely they're going to do something. So it's really up to you and what you choose, although anyone can do anything. But it's all down to the individual and what they decide to do. That's me, bro.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, no, listen, look, I think there is hope. You can find men that don't cheat. I think some choices are much more avoidable than others, personally. Not all, but some are. And I think that is just simple maths in that regard. I think there are some industries, like Jay was saying, that are susceptible to finding men who have far too much options. And what that actually really means is that men tend to cheat opportunistically, meaning that the opportunity arises and then they take a bite, so it is when the opportunity is given. So the fact that certain men have far more access to women, far more options, far more opportunities, it makes it far more likely that these men potentially will cheat as well. So, for instance, we're talking about Davido, Tubaba, Banky W. These men have women that adore and worship them and will literally do anything for them. So, it's one of those ones where it just kind of, I think that's the case. But I do think it can be difficult because there are some men that are in camouflage as well. And this could literally, I think there's a difference. Is there a difference? Maybe I can ask you guys as well. Is there a difference between, and I think that for me, I feel there's a difference, right? I feel there's like a difference between somebody who's a cheater and somebody who cheated. Like somebody who made a mistake once and then they're wanting to recuperate the relationship, and the person who is just a natural cheater, like say natural is no such thing, but someone who just is just a cheater. They just want to, there's no respect in the relationship. They just want to just keep doing their thing at your expense. Do you think, is there a difference there? Or, I mean, and also, does it make a difference? This is my thought, right? Is there a difference if a man cheats once or whether he cheats in an affair but then you know he comes clean. Like, is there a difference then at that point? Like, you know, because you know if you only caught him once, is that different from the person who cheats and you catch him again, you catch him again, you catch him again? Is there a difference between the two? So, like, let's say a 2-year affair, he never gets caught to the 2 years, but then you have somebody who's cheated in the 2 years 5 or 6 times different gal and got caught each time. Is there a difference between the two? That's what I'm trying to ask that question. Is there a difference between the two? Yeah, Precious, why are you making your face like that? Tell me. Talk to me.
No, definitely not. The reality of the situation, look, my thing is, I think it's each their own, right? About whether or not you want to forgive somebody when they cheat, because I'm not going to be the person to tell any woman or a man what to decide to do if they get cheated on. But I think the idea that if you've been having a whole 2-year affair and I find out, there's nothing to talk about at that point, because it's a situation where you didn't just sleep with somebody. Let's say, for example, it was an opportunity, it got better of you, you made a mistake, you came to me, you told me, you showed a lot of remorse, you showed full earnest wanting to fix things and to repair the damage that you've done. That's one thing. But to have a whole 2-year affair, then I find out, no, never no, it can't. And then even worse than that, the idea of cheating, somebody then cheats on you, does the whole remorse thing, and then does it again. At that point, that's you. If you decide to say that's you, because I always say, if you're going to forgive somebody, you have to forgive them 100%. But if that means that they're going to then do it again, there's no way that I can sit here. Let's say if it was my friend, there's no way I could sit there and be like, oh yeah, it's okay. No, because at the end of the day, if it depends on you, but if you're somebody who says you believe in God and you follow that way of life, that person has sinned against you and sinned against you multiple times. At this point in time, there has to be a level of self-respect where you have to be like, you know what? I think it's better for you to figure out what it is that you want in life, in a relationship, but you're not going to figure that out with me. You need to do that on your own. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to help anyone. All that's going to happen is the person's going to know that you're not going anywhere, which opens the door for you to just be disrespected more. And you're allowing that disrespect, and each time you find out that person is cheated again, it's chipping away at your self-esteem. It's chipping away at your ability to regulate and hold yourself and validate yourself. And I feel like the idea of having a 2-year affair, that's 2 years of that person repeatedly doing this against you. That's mad. So for me, I don't think there's a difference. I think each of them are just as bad. So yeah.
Max?
Yeah, I actually have a slightly different view. So 2 different things that you asked. You asked about cheater and cheated. I think if a guy is opportunistic, so it's just his faithfulness depends on his opportunities, that to me is cheater. Because it's just, okay, oh no, oh, is that husband? Oh, never mind. Like, bro, what? Like, yeah, people who have that heart and that mind to go out and continue, I think that behavior is different than cheating on one occasion. But I also think there's quite a lot of similarities between cheating on one occasion and having a certain type of affair. Now, the reason I say that is because if your mindset for the duration of the affair is in a certain space, and it's only after that your mindset actually shifts, I think that's slightly different. I don't know if that makes sense, because it's quite like it's not even trying to be a technical point, but what I'm trying to say is that there's a certain mindset that the person might be in who is cheating, and that may last more than a day. So if that lasts for the duration of their affair, and then they actually come to their senses, whatever experience they have, and they actually change, I think I see that slightly differently. I don't think I've articulated that well enough to make sense. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Hey, you, Charlene.
I just think that there's something to be said about there being no consequences. So for me, there isn't really a difference. And this is what I was saying before. There's not a difference in the 2-year affair and the multiple affairs and getting caught because you were taken back. So you didn't lose anything. Okay, your relationship is now, really suffered as a result, but you didn't lose her. And I think that there is something that the cheater is getting out of the cheating. There must be like a thrill and a rush of almost getting caught, not getting caught, almost getting caught, maybe getting caught, not getting caught. And with the person who gets caught multiple times and then doesn't lose the woman, the brain says, we can do this. This is a neural pathway that we can repeat because we can predict the outcome. And the outcome is that you're not going to lose your girl. You can just do it over and over again. And so it's this addictive thing of, I'm almost going to lose her. And right when I think I'm going to lose her, I pull her back. So that whole thing becomes an addiction. And then you've got the person in a 2-year affair who has become complacent because he hasn't been caught yet. But in both instances, you haven't lost. You haven't lost her. And yes, of course, there's going to be a loss of trust and a loss of respect. But I also think that the man who doesn't lose the woman in either scenario loses respect for his woman, which is why he keeps doing it. In order for him to really respect her, you're going to have to lose her. And this is just my opinion.
I hear that. Jay, what are you saying?
I actually agree with the ladies on this. What I'll add as well is for someone that just cheated, as a man, I'll say this, it tends to be more about who we are or who we were before you even come along. We probably didn't tell you the truth. I always say men who are dogs know their dogs. Their friends know their dogs. We don't minimize it. We don't pretend. Men will tend to say whatever they want in order to have you, even though they're probably elsewhere doing something. But when it comes to like a 2-year affair, that's also emotion attached. So so it can be said that's more about the relationship that he's in. So there's different questions that do need to be asked. However, what I'm focusing on is the impact that it will have on the woman, on the wife. And to me, the impact's the same. It's that hurt, it's that pain. Because if you think about it, we build images of who that person is. Even though we know anything can happen, we still build images of what our relationship is like, what that person will or won't do. So when something like that happens, it shatters worlds. It completely shatters worlds. Even though a lot of people get back together, or most people, the relationship isn't really the same. And it takes time because you have to rebuild it brick by brick. And a lot of people can stay together for months or years and never truly recover and just be, just have a really terrible relationship. I have a friend, he cheated within the first 3-4 months of the relationship. They stayed together for what? Maybe 5 years? But after that, and she found out 9 months in. From that 9 months onwards, it was completely toxic. And they still bought a house together. They still tried to live life together. But it was a crazy relationship from there. So that's what I look at. The impact of it is the same to me. But I guess the process is different, where we ask completely different questions. That's me, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think there's a I don't know. I guess obviously if you're on the other end, does it make a difference on had a 2-year affair or something? I think it makes a difference. I can't lie to you. I can't lie to you. I think you know what? If you're gonna do it, don't get caught. No, if you're gonna do it to me, don't get caught, because once you get caught the first time, you know what I mean. After the second time, after you've done it the second time, you got to be at the door. you know, you can probably forgive once, but the second time you got to be out the door. Like, you've been forgiven, you want to go again? Yeah, at this point you're disrespecting. You know what I mean? Whereas if someone does it for 2 years, it's like they never got caught. You kind of never knew. And it's like, okay, at the end of the 2 years, you come clean. It's going to be painful. The last 2 years were a lie. But if you forgive that and they never do it again, yeah, you can move forward. I'm not saying it's going to be anyone's situation. Hopefully not. But so I definitely do see a difference between the two. You know what I mean? Like, I just think to myself, like, yeah, when you get found out, though, like, that has to come to an end. I think, you know what I mean? Like, and I think sometimes, you know, these men out here also, you know, I've said, we were saying it earlier on, there's just no discipline, man. You know, there's no discipline, and that's the biggest issue. And I think with all these situations, they all have something in common. Not only are they cheating, but they're getting people pregnant. They're getting people pregnant. Like, that is mad. Like, you know what I mean? And we're talking about relationships. We're talking about, of course, nobody wants anyone to be cheating at all. But the fact that you have also the audacity not to wrap up as well and put something on the end of it when you're doing this madness, potentially bringing any kind of disease to your partner too, you know what I mean? Like, that for me just is an irresponsibility that don't make no sense. I don't understand why you wouldn't wrap up. I just, you know what I mean? You're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. I get it. So you know what I mean? Take the precautions, you know, that because it is not only now you cheating, but you're actually bringing another life into the situation too. You know, not to mention, and again, this is very dark. If you do get forgiven, if you got a bonus kid, that's even more mad too. So now I got to bring the bonus kid into the situation as well. So I got to look at you and the bonus kid. He better look like the mom. You know what I mean? He better look like the dad. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like those things are very disrespectful in that instance. What's your guys' thoughts on this though? What's your guys' thoughts on this situation in terms of, you know, these men and, you know, unfortunately out here, you know, impregnating people on the side as well? Like, this is this are they breaking the rules here? Is this breaking the side chick rules? I know it's very dark, but it's I thought we should discuss it. You know what I mean? We're breaking the side chick rules. Could you forgive, ladies, if that man cheated but then also had a child too? Is that too far to forgive? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, how would you interpret it? You know what I mean? So any lady can take that if they want, you know.
So you not only want to cheat on me, you want to have the evidence permanently in my face. And God bless this baby, this innocent, beautiful baby. So you not only want to cheat on me, you want to be tied to the woman that you cheated with for the duration of a human life. Even if you're not together, you are energetically tied to this woman. You are begging to destroy our relationship by yourself. Just take me out of it for a second. You're begging for this relationship to be destroyed. And who am I to deny your destructive tendencies? Seriously.
Good points. Pressure Max, one of you two can take it if you want.
I think it depends what stage it happens at as to how much I'll even take time to consider it. Because let's say this is like pre-marriage, then I feel like it's just much easier to be like, well, guess calling it a day. Like, all right. But if it's like, I don't know, because you want to argue, okay, you've got a settled home, but you obviously don't. So I don't know. It's a hard one, but I think at least the little I can say is, if it is in a marriage context, more thought will be given to it than if it's not.
Precious.
I would definitely want to avoid saying it can never be me, because I feel like that's a dangerous sentence to say. However, I think life sometimes gives us an exit, and we should be able to take it. I think if you're in a situation where somebody cheats on you and then gets someone pregnant, that's your exit door to just leave and call it a day. And for me personally, I don't think it would change. I think if I was married and we had kids, it's still getting called off, because the reality situation is you've now done two things to disrespect not only our relationship but our union, our family, especially if we have kids. That's even more, that's another thing on top of that. If we don't have kids, I'm just gonna thank my lucky stars I didn't have a kid with you, and I'm gonna call it a day and I'm gonna leave. Because I just feel like, as I said before, cheating already in itself is such a devastating thing to happen to somebody. It changes your perception, it affects how you trust people, it changes a whole thing, and it's such a difficult thing for a relationship to really come back from, as what Jay was saying. It's a really tough thing to try and heal and reconcile. And I think when then you add on top of that a constant reminder of that cheating in a child, and as innocent and as, you know, innocent and beautiful that that child is a constant reminder. And I'm gonna have to really put myself in a position to really be on a level where I have to treat that child in the way that child deserves to be treated, which is with kindness, love, and respect. And of course, that child deserves all of that. But that child now is a constant reminder of how much you disregarded my commitment to you, our commitment to each other, our relationship, our whatever. You disregarded that completely. And that child is a constant reminder of that, unfortunately. And I just feel like you have to call a spade sometimes. I think there should be consequences to actions. And I think that, for me, would be the consequence of that action. Just saying, you know what, I wish you the best. I hope you can be a wonderful father to that child, because that child deserves to have a present father that's going to be there to love that child. But it can't be me. I can't. I just know that my limits, my remit doesn't stretch that far. So there's no point of even trying to do that.
Appreciate it, Fresh. Jay, from your perspective.
So, have I cheated before? Yes. The last time was maybe 11 years ago, before I gave my life to Christ, and I'm saying this for a reason. The main reason, actually, why, there's two reasons. So, this is a decision I made before I gave my life to Christ, because I have particular barriers up. And one of the things was, as the older I got, the more I noticed women didn't mind having babies. Regardless of who it was with, they didn't mind having those children. And for my mind was always, if I got this person pregnant, then what? I don't want these ladies to be the mother of my children. So why am I engaging in things like this in the first place? And that was a standard. So I pulled back in terms of how I was behaving with women in the first place. When I gave my life to Christ, and those of you who have listened to what I have to say for probably over a year now, it would have been very easy for me to make the same mistakes in order to fulfill an emotional and physical need. But I said, I don't want to be that guy in God's eyes. It wasn't even about the women that I was with. It was, I just don't want to be that type of man who causes destruction. And I think there's I think Charlemagne said this on a podcast. No, I think it was on a Breakfast Club. He's yet to see a man who goes and does something like that who has not destroyed his family. And I felt, if I'm in a blessed situation, I don't want my behavior to take that away from me, because my belief is that behavior is going to take that away from me.
Imagine never too much, but
yeah, that's why I believe. That's just in my mind. So it's like, okay, cool. I don't want to be that type of person. Now, on the flip side, I'll give you another scenario. I was in a situation where someone who I was with was emotionally cheating with an ex. I didn't find this out at the time. They broke up with me and then went to physically go and do what they wanted to do. When they wanted to come back now and apologize and do all of that type of stuff, that's when the person came clean. But I knew it. Literally within 1 or 2 weeks, I knew it. And I remember telling one of my good friends, I know this is happening. I do not trust that she's not going to do these types of things. So when she came clean, it was almost just a confirmation of what the Holy Spirit was already telling me. And for me, I could not take her back. For her to do that in the first place, that showed a lack of respect for me, considering the type of person that I am. And for me, I'll be honest with you, it would have been a struggle to even love her in the way that she needed. It was a struggle for me to even look at her with respect. And I said, yeah, I'm not gonna put myself or even her through that situation. So she has to go. So to me, it's just a reckless situation. If you're gonna be in a situation as a man where you're gonna get multiple women pregnant, I'm not even gonna say the way that Nick Cannon is doing it is the way, because when we look into the Bible, and God didn't say this is okay, but we looked at, you know, kings and different people who they're elite, who was able to afford this, who was doing this, right? They was able to look after those women and look after those children. I'm not saying if it was done well, but this is what they was able to do. What we're talking about now is the recklessness of the situation. And you see a lot of guys, you know, the Oliver Jacksons, you know, the Ade Derricks are just reckless, absolutely reckless. They do not care. It's just about what they want and what they want in the moment. And that's where the issue is for me. Just where is the discipline? Where is the care for a child? Where is the care for a lady's heart? And that's the point that I look at. You know, I actually feel sorry for ladies, because the conversation would be, as we're saying, is it possible to find a man who is not going to cheat? Is it possible to find a man who is not going to do that to me once upon a time? And if he does, then what do I do? Because as much as ladies can say I'm going to leave, 80% of those situations, they still stay together. So what's going on? So yeah, that's why
Thank you, Jay there. Listen, you know, have I cheated? Yes, I cheated when I was like 18. Okay, guys, I was very young and I wouldn't do it again. I've changed. But you know, and thank God for Jesus too, as well. All right. But I think the most difficult thing is, obviously, with the situation is understanding the gravity of making this mistake is huge. I think one thing that people underestimate, especially us as men, is having complete trust of the other person. Once it's broken, it is pretty much irreplaceable, irrevocable. You can mend it again. It just will never be the same exactly again. You know what I mean? It's a bit like doing your ACL. It just will never be the same again. So it's like you don't want to break that trust. You know what I mean, as well, like, because you can forget it, but it's always gonna be in the back of your mind, you know. And so, you know, for me personally, that's what would keep me from ever cheating. You know what I mean? I'd rather leave than cheat, because, you know, that to be able to say to someone, like, where you say, you know what? Oh, I know he or she's at the store, and you have no feeling of thinking, oh, they actually do something. That is something of peace that you can't buy. And I think people need to really understand that all the stuff that you see with these guys, Davido, Banky, Baba, or any kind of man, your normal day to 9 to 5 people, they don't realize that the impact of their behavior is detrimental on an enormous scale. And I think as a man, as you become more closer to Christ, especially, you do take into account how this impacts your family, and how that, you know, even your kids, you know, will look at you and feel, you know what I mean? So that for me is definitely something that I always think about if I'm in a relationship. Like, yo, I don't want my partner to ever have that look of just pain and disappointment and looking at you like they don't know you anymore. That is just wild. If you've ever had that look where the person looks at you that they don't even know who you are anymore, like, you don't want to, that's not a pretty place to be in. And I can only imagine that if that's your wife, let alone a girlfriend is a girlfriend, yeah. But a wife who you're meant to do life with, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that for me, yeah, that ain't it at all, you know. So yeah, but I'll say from the reverse is, if I had a wife that had cheated and had a child, oh God, I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I will do. And do you know what the biggest thing is? It's not even the pain of you having this child against me. That's the most craziest thing. It's the fact that other people now know, because you've also had a child with it. So now they know that you are a bastard and you have done this. And everyone's gonna know. If I take you back, everyone's gonna know. I'm gonna feel like a dickhead. That's the honest truth, and that's the realest thing, you know. that, you know, I'm gonna feel like a dickhead if I take you back if you had a child with another man. It's like you really don't care about man. That's why you did what you did. You didn't consider me. You know what I mean? You definitely were only thinking about yourself in some sense. So yeah, it's for me. I wouldn't necessarily want to ever be in that position again. And I guess the next question we'll ask, and I'll ask in a second, is what would stop you? What stops? I guess what stops man from cheating? But you kind of answer that a little bit as well. But yeah, that's me in that case. Yeah, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've been in the comments, and like I have some serious questions about this guy, because I don't know much about Davido. I know he's a musician. I know he's quite popular with his thing and all of that, but I genuinely thought it was common knowledge that he was married, because after his child passed away, you know, like the obvious logical question is, who's the mother of the child? Like, you know, so there was some stuff put out that I saw, that he was grieving, and so was the mother of the child, and they were married as far as I knew. So if there are bigger fans of him than I am, or people that know more about him than I do, then I would naturally assume that they knew as well. So yeah, if these two coastlaws, as you call them, these two side pieces, decided to still mess with him, knowing that not only is he married, but the type of lifestyle that he probably lives, it doesn't come across to me as a family man who's going to be, you know, faithful, settled down and everything. He's very much an entertainer. He may keep himself to a degree compared to some others, but from what I've seen of him, man, this guy is very well known, very popular, and has a lot of groupies. So I think I would make the distinction whether these were actual genuine relationships, or these were people that, you know, they were just hookups once in a while. And unfortunately, he's dug his own grave, and he has to now be ready to support potentially 2 kids. And it must be exceptionally hard on his wife, having lost a child of her own, to now see him having 2 kids with 2 different women out here. Must be terrible. So unfortunately, I don't have any sympathy for him. But like I said, I'm not gonna pretend that these ladies were blind and oblivious to the fact that he has other chicks as well. Even if it's just the one that he has that he's married to, they still knew that he had somebody else. They were not in relationships with him where there was monogamy, marriage, you know, all that type of stuff. None of them have said that. So, you know, you can give grace if you want to, that's fine, but I'm not going to give as much grace on that. I'm going to be quite even-handed on both sides. I'm going to put it on both sides, because he should know better. Definitely. He's the one that has the relationship. He's the one that even did this while his wife was grieving. All right. So he's a scumbag, in my opinion. Right. But I'm also going to say, listen, man, let's not be dumb and try and remove all responsibility from the ladies that were getting with him. They knew what comes with that lifestyle. They probably were selected by bouncers or met on, you know, concerts and things like that, and just went back and had fun and ended up pregnant. Who knows? But yeah, I'm not going to absolve of responsibility. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, unfortunately, the guys that live these type of lifestyles are somewhat attractive to a lot of women. They got the money. They have the ability to show them an extravagant time, a really flashy time, like fast cars, music video sets, trips away, you know, all that type of stuff. There are a lot of ladies that find that appealing, regardless of how his character is. So I think that needs to change also. If you want a guy that isn't going to cheat, then you probably need to date someone that lives a more modest lifestyle, has a more grounded a sense of himself, and isn't just out here trying to chase skirt and pop bottles all day and all night. Like, choose someone that's probably better suited for what you're looking for.
Thank you for that. Jeff, what's your thoughts? I've got some questions for you guys now, so go for it after, Jeff.
No, I think Jay kind of said everything that needed to be said when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, can't take the onus or responsibility off from Davido if you're getting involved, entertaining people to ruin your own legacy, your own bag. Yeah, that's on you. That's literally on you. At the same time, the ladies knew what was up when it comes to entertaining guys of a certain lifestyle and knowing he's in a relationship. You know what you're doing when you're getting involved. And the sad part about it is children now are involved in this mess. So you've created a whole level of toxicity where the children are going to have to grow up with it. That's really the messed up part about the whole thing, is the kids involved. It's kind of like the whole baby Danny Lay situation. Like, every time when there's a disruption within highly known family members within society, people with high status, children are unfortunately the casualty of this thing. So then how many times do you have to watch over and over and over again before people learn, stay in your lane? If you are someone who is of high status, you got money, you got literally everything that you want, does it mean that you have to entertain other people in a relationship? And is it worth having people come into your life here to ruin what you got, what you've established? And now children are, at the end of the day, you've just added more responsibility on for yourself. So me personally, when it comes to this whole cheating thing, I can understand it. I can understand why people do it. It's enticing. It's very enticing, but I just ask, do a cost effect analysis, just do a cost benefit analysis to ask yourself, is it really worth it at the end of the day? Is it worth it? Like, is it worth all the headache? And like Owen just said, if you're really going to be doing all of this, I don't condone it, but just take precautions. Seriously, wrap it up, take precautions. Just don't put yourself in a compromising situation where your name now is going to be tarnished. So that's all I've got to say about that, to be honest.
I got a question. Here's my question. Why is it that the men, I'm going to talk about the high-powered men, because that's what we're talking about today. These high-powered, high-valued, these men of stature, musicians, why is it that they cheat, but their women don't be cheating? Why is it that the men be cheating, but their women don't be cheating? That's the question I'm asking, right? I know they both have options, but why is it that the men that seem to be those Davidos, those Banky W, Baba, you are comfortable, you know your wife is there. Why is it that you are cheating, but the wives are not cheating? What is the difference? Why are they cheating? That's the question.
I think it's probably more to do with the court of public opinion more than anything. Because I think everyone has the capacity, as said, to cheat. But I think the backlash, the public backlash you get as a woman from cheating compared to as a man from cheating is very different. It's a lot more vicious. I think there's also more consequences in future relationships as well. I think it hangs over your head more. Like, we see men cheat and on their wives, girlfriends, and they're able to find another woman, another girl that is happy to get into a relationship again with that person. And I think it's just because there's less of a stigma on men cheating. I think a lot of people go in with the idea that men cheat, so it makes sense. That's a plausible thing to happen. So, because you've done it, because that man's done it, doesn't mean it's going to happen to me. And I think there's also another side of looking at how men see sex in relation to women. I think men will always say, you know, sex isn't, I can have sex with somebody and not have any feelings for them, and it's just a physical thing, and that stuff is, and it's that. And I think men don't really put a high value on sex per se. I think their value on sex isn't very high. So for them, they can kind of separate that. But I think there's multiple reasons why women put a higher value on sex. And you know, some of that can be patriarchal, some of that could just be, you know, circumstantial and systematical. But the reality is that for women, sex holds a higher value. So the idea that if now a woman then cheats, it's now used to demonize her a lot more because of how high women tend to hold sex in regard. So I do think that's the real difference. I don't think there's a difference in the actual cheating or even the mechanisms behind cheating. I think cheating is a result of either a character flaw or your needs not being met and you succumbing to a situation that allows you to do that. But even that, I can still argue, is a little bit of a character flaw. But I think it's all about how the cheating is perceived. I don't think it's the cheating itself. I think it's the perception around the cheating, that people put a lot more onus on a woman cheating as that being a much more malicious, detrimental thing, an egregious thing, than maybe a man cheating. And maybe that also has to do with the fact that men are less likely to take a woman back after cheating, whereas women are more likely to do that. But again, I think that goes also back to how high men and women hold sex in regard. And so that makes a difference too. But I think in my personal opinion, I don't think there's difference. I think whether you're a woman cheating or a man cheating, it's still an immoral thing. It's still a character flaw. Human beings are human beings. We make mistakes. So I'm not going to say that you're a horrible person, but I do think if it's a repeated offense and you're doing it consistently all the time, whether it's the same partner or different partners, then you have to really take stock of why you're doing it. If you have to maybe question if you are a good person in sort of some of the respects. But yeah, I do think the real difference is more to do with the perception, the public perception of the cheating between men and women. Kojo, you're having a time there with that orange.
Oh, sorry, the orange was juicy. But thank you for that. Yes, Precious. A great expulsion there. Actually, gave me some more questions to ask you guys. Charlene, go for it.
Yeah, you know, whenever I've witnessed men who are either very good looking and have a history of cheating, or men who are very high profile, so it doesn't really matter whether they're good looking or not, in regards to getting women, and have a history of cheating, it comes down to this thing that I've noticed in men in a certain stage of their life where they want freedom over responsibility. And it's this I think it's a primal thing where a man at a certain stage in his life just wants the freedom to get as many women as he desires. And so there's this conflict between his primal nature. By the way, I do think that men in later stages of their life hopefully mature and they want to be with one woman. But I do think that there is a stage in a lot of men's lives when they just want to have sex with lots of different women. And so there's that nature. And then there is, but I should just want her. And I think that those two things, they're kind of war and rage against one another. This desire to be with one woman and to make it work, and I love her. And this innate nature to just have the freedom. I don't know a man whose one of their top values isn't to just be free. And so, unfortunately, you've got men who try to do both. They try to have relationships, and they also act as if they are single, which causes havoc. It's reckless. But I do think there's something primal in that, and I'm not saying that gives people the excuse to cheat. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I just think more men should be honest about the stage of life that they're at. This is the stage of life I'm at. I want to bone lots of women. It's just where I'm at. Just be upfront, be honest about it, and don't settle down if that's where you're at. Yeah, that's how I see it.
More men need to be honest about where they're at. That's a great explanation there, Charlene. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, when Charlie said that, I was just literally laughing. I mean, it's true. Men have to be honest about it. I think it's really the fear that keeps them from being honest, I think. Because if it's even kind of wild, you even just said that, you know, I want to bone a lot of I can never imagine ever telling somebody that. I just can't. I can't ever imagine doing something like that, even though deep down inside you may want the you want to, you know, do basically. But I think when it comes to this idea as to why men do the cheating and women cheat less, I'm seeing that there's definitely freedom without accountability. There's the opportunity that gives you the license to do so, especially because I'm seeing in statistics that, you know, men tend to cheat a lot more when they are older, in their 30s basically, especially if they are of high status and they're making a lot of money and it gives them access to opportunity. What's messed up is some of these men will be in relationships and use women as starters, basically women that they never necessarily wanted, that there was some form of attraction, but the level of attraction wasn't really there for them. So they basically use the women and then they get with a woman that they actually want, essentially. So it's kind of sad that there are men that are like that, unfortunately. And I think, like Charlene said, there is a primal urge towards that. Women, they will still cheat, but that is more likely for women to cheat in their younger years, in when they're 18, in their 20s and that sort of stuff, rather than when in their 30s and stuff. It's not saying that they still don't, but especially there's a risk towards it. There's a primal aspect because women, they have the ability to give life to children, so they have to be very selective in regards to the people that they choose to sleep around with. Immorally, both are wrong. It's just which one carries more of a particular risk depending on what gender you are. At some points, I was even going to disagree a little bit with Precious in regards to the stigma associated with men cheating, only because of my own bias of the fact that you hear more public outcry or backlash when men do it. That isn't to say that you don't hear it from women. I'm saying that I hear a lot more public outcry when men, high status men, end up cheating, even though it's a normal thing for people to do. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be, but you hear more of the outcry. And I think because women are protected from it somewhat, because it's the expectation, men are going to do it. But I think because society, due to laws, we're trying to basically say, no, this can't be acceptable. So there's a level of a bias that's there sometimes. That's my my opinion about it. It both are immoral from a legal standpoint and also from a moral standpoint. And I think because of the expectation of men to be leaders, it's definitely going to be heavy when men do it rather than women do it at times. I think from a primal urge, though, there is less. Men become a lot more reckless when it comes to this sort of stuff. Women are a little bit more selective in regards to that. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Good points. Good points. People just want a bone. Yeah. Yes, Jay.
I've been writing while everyone's been talking, so yeah, I think everyone's points is actually quite valid, depending on the situation. But what I would say is historically, the power has always been with the men, and historically, the men would exercise their power and their ability to do that because we're talking about the elite. I know, yes, people who are not there also cheat, but we're talking about those men at the top, right? So historically, ladies couldn't just leave these marriages because they would have left with nothing. You know, that's why biblically the laws have to come into place to protect women, because you couldn't just, you know, leave them be. It wasn't safe. You couldn't do that. You couldn't make a mockery of what you promised, right? But so I guess now you can say you have ladies, because it still happens today where footballers, entertainers, these ladies still stay and get consistently embarrassed. So I think from a woman's point of view, she has to weigh up. If I leave, I can possibly go to the court and get a certain amount of money for a period of time. But if I stay, I'm going to get this money for the rest of my life. And I feel like a lot of ladies have to ask themselves that question, regardless of whether they have their own or not. Although there are more ladies now who have their own and decide to walk away, which is what the argument is. Ladies, get your own. Don't trust these men, A, B, C. That creates its own issues, but this is where it starts from. Also, you have to look at, for a man growing up, the fantasy was to sleep with as many women as possible. But for women, it was the knight in shining armor, the fairy tale. The idea of a woman, you know, wanting to sleep with as many men as possible is still not one that is, you know, acceptable in today's society. And most women still don't want to do that. And as Jeff said, you know, when a woman gets pregnant and she's cheating, she doesn't know who the father is. Most women don't want to be in that position because it's embarrassing. Although we see it a lot on Maury, on paternity court, it's crazy the lengths that, you know, the lies and everything that will happen. But most women don't want to be in that position. And I think when Precious is talking about the value of sex, I think that's spot on. As much as you get women that complain about wise men asking about body count, it doesn't matter. It does matter because women themselves put value on sex. In order to get me, you have to be this, you have to do this, you have to do that. So for a man who is chasing that, there is a natural, I think, stigma that's going to be given to a woman because it's seen as you've devalued yourself to make it so easy, you know, what's going on, which is why a lot of men, if their missus do cheat, they will find it very hard, yes, because of ego, to forgive and move on, because it's that idea, like, this is meant to be for me, this is special. And the way I see it, a lot of men would love a position where they would create a cake with a complicit woman and eat it too. A lot of men love being in that situation. Unfortunately, there's a lot of women who are happy in this day and age to be in that situation. So, you know, it's really a two-way argument here. We can't just say men, 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 men. We live in a different time now. We have to say, ladies, why are you... I usually say this to ladies. As much as you might say one thing, there's a whole bunch of ladies that will prove you wrong. So this is why it's a two-way conversation, unfortunately. If we want to start saying to people, let's not do this, let's also talk about the ladies who are saying, yeah, and I want to be that woman. Come, let me be the side chick. Let me be the coleslaw. Let me be this. And that's the difficulty that we're in. We live in a very different time where we can't just have a one-way conversation. And yeah, I think what everyone has said is correct. And I think those are just some of the points where it's ingrained why that happens. And I will say to ladies, continue not wanting to be that woman. Don't think you're tired of being a good woman, you're tired of being a good person, because at the end of the day, you are most likely going to get hurt from those situations, and as often people are. So don't think because side chicks are not winning, because look at the stuff that's happening. But yeah, that's me.
Love those points. Let me give it some points before I go, because I got to bounce, but you guys will still be on. You know, I think this whole cheating situation, look, the reality of the situation is, you know, that I am born into privilege, and in this privilege, it allows me to do certain things that some women would be afraid to do, right? Because I'm very much aware that the public court of opinion is very different to how it is for men and for women. There generally is, right? Let's say, for instance, we watch in Love Island. Tariq said he had 100 bodies. Yet Ella was out here screaming, saying, no. She found herself with Tariq. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much she go and scream about it, it's not viewed in the same way. It's not valued in the same way I think that's what Precious was also alluding to, and what Jay's saying too, and Jeff's saying too. It's not valued in the same way. So for men, it is, you're not given the same judgment that women are given. You know what I mean? I think when it comes to cheating, though, specifically cheating, a lot of that is entitlement, and it's purely as well a selfishness that comes into play. If we're talking about cheating versus somebody who just sleeps around, the two are different, right? Because if you're cheating, you actually have a safety net. That's often what it is. You have the safety net, which is your partner who emotionally fulfills your needs, and then you go out looking for someone else to fulfill your sexual fantasies. And that oftentimes is what happens when people end up cheating on their partners. Someone else fills that sexual need, and they enjoy the spoils elsewhere. But I feel like that the reason why we don't hear about women as much doing it is because us men are not on code. It's a simple truth. We're not on code. If Precious cheats with me, I'm not about to go and tell her man. If anything, I'm gonna keep that, go to the grave with it. That's his business. But ladies will be like, no, sister code. I gotta let her know. Whilst you are the cheating party yourself, you are here coming to do sister code. Yeah, I gotta come to her as a woman. That's what we say. There's no such thing as come to a man as a man. We don't have that. You know what I mean? You know why? Because when they cheat with us, we're not gonna say nothing. So a lot of times, the reason why men don't, the stories about women coming out cheating is because if a woman comes out and says she's faithful, you're not going to hear me coming on the internet to be like, let me expose her and tell her why she is not faithful. I'm like, if that's what her man is, that's what her man is. So let me mind my own business. But women will be the first ones coming and be like, he's not faithful. He was cheating with me. Hey, darling, don't you not keep your mouth shut? You are the one that was cheating with. Keep it quiet. You know what I mean? Go about your business. Man, them don't talk. So because we don't have a brother code and I come to a man as a man like the women do, we will never really know. It's not that women are better at cheating. It's the fact that men don't have a code. You know what I mean? So if you cheat, like someone said, you cheat with a gardener or cheat with a plumber, yeah, the plumber's not coming to be like, yo, bro, to let you know I slept with your wife, like, my bad, bro. Like, I just want to let you know, as boys, he has no thing to tell me. You know what I mean? So oftentimes it looks like women are getting away with it, but it's not. It's because men are just not going to say nothing. So for me personally, I don't think any man should be cheating. Men should not be cheating, and they should not be doing those things. And I don't think that women don't cheat. I just think to myself that we get more press about men because women be snitching. Okay, because they be snitching and usually they're snitching because they thought they were special. They deluded themselves and said, we're special. And as soon as I told you you're not special, you're one of the hoes, you came out and said, nah, that ain't going to be me. But if you told me I'm one of the hoes, I'd be like, you know what? You're right. I am. So let me go and stay in my position and be the coastal and the baked beans and the sweet corn and the collard greens. Let me be my position. You know why? Because I don't need to be out here exposing myself. But ladies you will tell them they are the biscuit on the side. They'll tell you, no, I can never be anybody's biscuit. I know my value. You know your value. When you was chitting with me, do you know your value? You knew your value. You know what I mean? But that's me being joking a little bit aside as well.
Kojo, you are all
today. Honestly, trying to cause issues. Do you know what? I think a lot of that though is because with men, men can easily when they're sort of engaging in those sort of side things, they're engaging in things based, I guess. Basically, they don't have to like you as a person to even decide to get physical with you. Whereas I think a lot of women tend to go after men that they actually do like. And then that's what happens is then when they realize, oh, that person isn't actually trying to leave their person for me, now I'm hurt because I've got attached. I've idealized this person in my head. I've put this person on a pedestal in my head, thinking that, oh, they're going to fall in love with me because we have fun. We don't have any of the, I guess, the negative side of emotional connections where you can affect the other person emotionally. I think a lot of the times, you get men who are saying, my wife or my girlfriend, she annoys me when she does this and this and this. So the other girl's thinking, okay, cool. All I have to do is just not do that. All I have to do is just to fill this whole thing with fun and excitement and passion, and he will see that the grass is greener on the other side, not knowing that really and truly that emotional connection is really going to be the only thing that makes a man decide whether he wants to switch over to the person he's cheating with or stay with the person he's already with. And as Kojo just said, he's already got that emotional connection with the person he's already with. So he's not going to jeopardize that and have to start again with you just because we're having fun. And I think what happens is that women go into that thinking that that's what's going to be. And they're picking people that they like. They're not picking people who are just like, oh, he's good looking. I don't really like him as a person, but we all have fun. They're picking people who they find attractive, they find interesting. And that's when you start developing those connections. It's harder to, detach yourself from that. And I think that's another factor as well in a lot of these sort of side relationships that you're having, that women want to go back and hope that if they wreck home enough, that he'll come running to you. Or as Kojo said, it might just be out of being embarrassed and being hurt. So now I have to hurt you the way that you hurt me by destroying your marriage or destroying your relationship. And it's just messy for everybody. And I just think everyone should just, keep to your things to yourself. Keep your sexual organs in where they're supposed to be, and don't spin it around. Be good people. That's all we ask.
Hey guys, listen, I'm gonna drop off literally for the next hour. I've got a client, but Jay's gonna take over. So Jay's gonna be in control. Jay, pass the mic around. Don't hog it. Pass the mic around, Jay. Okay. You be talking, but pass it around. Share it with everybody. Yeah, okay. But no,
can I say something after you go, Coach? Go ahead. Sorry.
It's up to Jay. It's up to Jay. Jay's no, I mean, I'm no longer the boss. Jay's the boss. Jay's not the boss.
Okay.
But no, you can. Okay, of course you can. But guys, I'll be back in a probably hour here. Fantastic. If not, really appreciate you. I will be behind the scenes, so I'll still be here, but just behind the scenes. You won't see me, but I'll be behind the scenes. But Jay, you're in control. I'll send you questions. Feel free, and please, guys, keep your sexual organs to yourself. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Amen.
Charlene, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that whenever men hear, this is not all men, but whenever men hear about a man who is a womanizer and gets lots of girls, their response to that is, oh, he's the man. There's something about a man's ego that needs to be known as the player that gets all the girls. And I think that need to have that image of the player that has the freedom to get all of the girls, it usurps and surpasses any kind of need to be faithful. And like I had an experience once where I went to like a club with my girlfriends and got talking to this guy, and I gave him my number. He never called. It's like, cool. Now, some of you guys know, well, all of you guys on the panel know that my background is in the music industry, right? And there was times that I was singing at functions, singing at weddings, as well as touring and all of those different things. I was singing at a wedding, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. Who did I see? The brother who asked for my number on the dance floor with his woman. Now, see, he didn't cheat. I wouldn't class that as cheating, but he flirted with me as if he was single. And I think he got my number to prove to himself that he could. He never intended to follow through. And for him, that was enough of a thrill for him to satisfy his image of somebody that could get a pretty girl. And I see this a lot. And it's this addiction to being known as the player, and having the freedom to play and play and play. I'm telling you, that addiction to that ego stuff will drive you mad. And I'm telling you, it is not for the mature. It's not a mature thing to do, because you're not even a king yet. You're not even here to build. with a woman. And this is a whole nother topic about who is a king and who isn't. But at that stage of your life, you need to be honest with yourself so that you don't hurt people. That you're not a king, you do not want a woman, you don't want to build, you want adventure. And unfortunately, the adventure that you seek is women's bodies. Okay? That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Charlene. As a man, I will confirm that there is a saying amongst us that sometimes it is enough to know that you can. Unfortunately, there is a saying amongst men. So you are absolutely right. There are a lot of men who are like that. But the whole point about validation, I think I want to stress, it doesn't just come from how men high-five each other when it comes to getting a lot of women. What we also notice as men is that there is something about men who can get a lot of women that is attractive to a lot of women. And it is that someone mentioned in the comments, the traits, so how he manages himself, whatever it is, there is something about a man that is highly attractive to women who see this, who see that he can get a lot of women and they're intrigued. A lot of times as men, we can be walking around. The ladies want to see who are we with. And, well, depending on what we do, but who are we with? And that does something to them. Some ladies want the challenge. I think we talked about this offline with myself, Kojo, Max, and Precious. Some ladies want that challenge. They want that validation from also getting that type of men. And a lot of men experience this. So, it of course, it's hard to turn that off because you've got ladies who are complicit. But where, I guess, it separates in terms of the stigma, a man can be like that in the past and then be reformed. That's highly attractive to a woman. There is no such thing as a woman who can be a particular way in the past and then now be reformed. That's attractive to a man. Like that stigma will still follow you, and it will still be embarrassing to some degree. When in Proverbs, when it says, she brings respect to him at the city gates. Even our past, can cause disrespect, and that still happens in society. If a man has a past, yeah, who cares? A whole bunch of women are still going to line up to be with him. If a woman has a past, a whole bunch of men are going to line up to be with her, but not to marry her, but to have their turn. And this is just, when we look at society, this is all ingrained into why men do things, why women do things, why we feel it's okay, why we don't feel it's okay, why, certain men don't have the remorse or don't have the care, or why some women decide, I don't care no more, I'm just going to do what I want to do. It's not my relationship, which, is the whole Davido situation. But these are just some of the differences that exist and, why we do certain things anyway. But Jeff, I saw that your mic was off. Do you want to go?
Now, I was basically going to say that all the more reason why women should not be signing up to be side chicks or side anything. Either you basically live life by yourself, or you, instead of looking to be the side thing, just be like the main dish. Be the main course for the right person at the end of the day. Don't sell yourself short for any person. And it's like you're willing to do all of this for a come up, for opportunity, and you're willing to wreck homes because, again, the onus also still put on the guys for even entertaining women like that, where you're willing to allow women to be coming in and messing up your life like that. And unfortunately, for better or for worse, well, I hope for better, on a macro level, men are always going to be seen as leaders. So accountability is always going to be on us as a whole, from a community-based standpoint. From a micro point, from an individual level, both people are accountable, but men more so from a macro level. And I think also the ego part, I understand it. This is like high school, secondary school politics when you think about it, because you got the guys you got the roadman, you got the athletes from school, people that are popular. Popularity gets you in a lot of places. Status, who you know, basically determines how good you look, especially in the eyes of women. The more attractive you are, the more popular you are, the more women tend to be around you. And especially if you're a guy that's got the gift of the gab, who's got confidence and charisma, who's able to charm his way when he's talking with certain girls. He doesn't have to say much as well, and girls will be flocking to him as well. It adds on more to the ego. I saw that when it came to secondary school. I was like, I guess, the quote unquote corny kid, and a lot of guys will be hating you, like, bro, how is it that this guy's able to get so many goals? Yeah, and I can't. It's always that ego where you feel you're comparing yourself to other people. And sometimes because of, I guess, lack of identity and insecurity in yourself, you are comparing yourself to other people. When you think about it, at some core level, men and women, we always chase for the unattainable. Men will chase for women who are considered highly attractive. Forget about the character and all. Maybe later on when it comes to the instant delayed gratification of getting to know somebody for who they are, maybe later on, but in the instant process, you look for somebody that is highly attractive based by your own insecurities. For women, there are women who will look for guys on the same level when they're younger. When they're older, they may still have these things, but also look at stability as well and how a man carries himself in terms of just control. Especially when you go to certain areas where these type of guys tend to hang out, where they be in a club setting, all of that feeds into the psyche of people, and we're looking for what we consider to be the unattainable. We see that as a challenge. That's why even now, when it comes to recreational dating, guys, some of the guys will do so much just to simply say, I was able to smash that. I was able to get the box. I was able to basically have sex with a woman. And unfortunately, objectify women. But then the women also don't do themselves justice when they objectify themselves and how they carry themselves. So it's a two-way street when you think about it, depending on your outlook on relationships and also how you see the opposite sex in terms of what you can get out of them and your intent behind it. So when it comes to the whole cheating, infidelity, it always comes down to number one, insecurity. Number two, your intent when it comes to getting with these type of people. So it's kind of mad. That's what I got to say about that.
Does anyone want to jump off the back of that?
I agree. I think a lot of it is the idea that like you do get you when you are popular and you're well liked and you know you're sort of that big man on campus, it's a lot easier. You've got more opportunities, you know, it comes to you a lot easier. I think that is down to when it is your own character and what you value, what you how you view the opposite sex. And number one, how do you view them? What do you see them as? Do you see them as human beings that you engage with, that you get to know and you have an experience where you develop a connection, or is it just a sport? I think a lot of men see it as a sport. Like even like the going out culture, going to clubs, pulling girls, it's all a sport. Sex is seen as a sport for a lot of men, and it's like you know, that becomes an issue when there's a sport being played but the other person isn't playing the same game as you. That becomes an issue. It's a one-sided game, and all it means is that there's a trial of people who are hurt in the process. But I think a lot of it is trying to be a lot, you know, especially for women, trying to be discerning and not sort of jumping onto the perception of that popular man, or the one who's got the gift of the gab and who's got all the people around him. Because at the end of the day, there's always as people love to use this term, a representative that's being shown. The real person behind that might not even be as interesting as you think they are. They might not be as kind, funny, entertaining, smart, intelligent. It might just all be a representative that is being shown. And that's what people are getting in that short little, you know, instance that they're hanging out at a party with them, or a meeting, or a dinner. It's that short, sweet, very rehearsed, very practiced interaction. But the interactions that you get when you're at home, when you're by yourself, when you're together, when you're alone, that's going to give you the idea of who this person is. And a lot of times the person never really lives up to the persona. And so you have to really be able to discern whether or not this is just a pedestal you're putting yourself on, an idea that you're giving yourself, this very shallow, surface level, entertaining, well-liked persona that you've put on, or is that really you? And if that's really you, are there other character values that are coming with it as well? And that's all just part of discernment and all just part of getting to know somebody. And I think sometimes when you're not sure about yourself, you're not sure about who you are, and you're secure in yourself, you kind of tend to just grab on to that persona and grab onto the allure of a successful man who's got money and people love him and it's great. And it's like now you're known as the girl who managed to bag that amazing guy who's got all these friends and money. And but it's like, yeah, cool, you bagged him, but if he's treating you like crap, what did you bag? You bagged a bag of crap. So it's not worth it. So I think, yeah, it's just a lot of discernment. It's a lot of thinking about who is it that you're really talking to. Am I talking to you, or am I just talking to the persona? And if that is really you, does that benefit me in any way, in a real tangible, lifelong way, if that's what you're looking for? But I guess in the words of Jeff, if you're just looking for recreational dating, which I love that term, by the way, hilarious. Does that work? If that's what you're looking for,
that's what
then,
it is, though.
Yeah, then it doesn't matter. If that's what you're looking for, then you don't have to really think about the deepness of it. But if you're looking for a real deep relationship, then yeah, you've got to really think about who this person is and whether or not that person is a person that's got the correct character to actually have a trusting, long-term, healthy relationship with,
Precious, that's more easy said than done. Like, it's easiest saying it than it is doing it, because in a time where, again, when I say recreational dating, people dating for the sake of having fun, it's like, first of all, when it comes to standards that people set when it comes to these things, with people that date for fun, there's no rules to it. There's literally no rules to it. At least when you're dating with the intent to marry, courtship, there's a rule where, and even then some people still mess it up sometimes. So like when it comes to guys, it doesn't even have to be guys that have financial status that do this. There are guys that can be broke, that can pull girls, right? As long as, the thing is, if you're lacking in one area, some guys will have to overcompensate in other areas to look a certain type of way. You said bringing your representative. So basically creating a facade, a caricature of a guy that is considered to be attractive. So even if you're not checking the boxes in one area, if you're checking a particular box that a girl likes, a guy will feed into that. Basically, counterfeit currency for the dating marketplace when it comes to checking for particular girls, especially if it's a girl that is checking him at the same time. It's all immature. It's all born out of immaturity. And again, it's all about accessibility, depending on how a girl perceives and looks at the guy. If he thinks, oh, he's attractive, and the guy knows that, that's when he's able to run play. Unfortunately, discernment, that only happens later on in life when you become a little bit more experienced, but also level of maturity to know what you want. If you want to be in a long-term committed relationship versus just simply playing this dating game and dating around casually, and sometimes, unfortunately, getting caught up in the whole sex aspect of things. But it's very difficult to know who's who and what's what at a young age, and you're repetitively just casually dating out there with no intent behind what it is you're doing. And I think it's more difficult. Maybe there's a level of difficulty for women because obviously there are guys that lie, but that isn't to say that there aren't women that lie about it as well. But I think because women have to, from a primal standpoint, have to be more selective about the type of guys that they give themselves to, it's a little bit difficult because anybody can pull a facade nowadays.
Charlene, there's a question I want to ask you, but I want you, Max, and JR to go before I do that. So who's up next? Max?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what the question is at this stage. So
There isn't a question, but what do you think about what Precious and Jeff has said?
I think one thing that I was going to say earlier is the assumption that women aren't cheating. That didn't quite get covered, because, well, Kojo kind of spoke to it, and he spoke about the male side of it, in terms of men won't necessarily go and talk to another man, and I do think that's part of it. But I also think, in the example of someone like Davido, when you're that absent, like, for you to be having that level of an affair, or affairs plural, when you're that absent, you leave a big gap for someone else. So it's actually a really interesting idea that people would assume women don't cheat. And I'm not saying she's cheating, but I'm just saying you leave a big space. When you are maintaining multiple relationships, that is time you're taking away from the relationship or your home. So you are leaving gaps for other men. You're leaving gaps, whether it is emotionally, whether it is physically, whether it is probably not financially, he probably has it, but you are leaving space for someone to step in. And so it will get to the point where, will the woman just live in loneliness, or will she get someone to fill the space? Because I know we've talked about cheating in the sense, but we've not really talked about motivation. And that's not to say that she wouldn't have any choice, but it's that she's in a position of deficit, even though she's in a relationship. People who find themselves lonely though they're partnered, that's a different type of experience. So yeah, that's what I would drop in.
Thank you, Max. JR?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what's been said so far, right? I just keep it simple. The fact of the matter is, whether it's in your teenage years or your 20s, 30s, 40s, for men, it's relatively the same, all right? And I'm not trying to be speak for every guy, but that there are some of us who have more charisma. There are some of us that have more ambition. There are some of us that will earn 6 figures. There are some of us that will still be broken on the same corner at the age of 50, right? So the thing is, we need these different types of guys to make up our brotherhood, right? Because we see who not to be and who to aspire to be like, and who we're gonna hang with more, and who's gonna, we need that diversity in our community. All guys are not gonna universally be what some women expect them to be, right? They're not. There will be those scumbags, those toe rags who want to procreate with anything and anyone, right? And unfortunately, those guys tend to be the more charismatic, no fear. I'm gonna go get what I want. I'm not scared of the repercussion. And that edge is attractive to some women, right? Not all women, but some women are genuinely attracted to that edge. They're attracted to that unpredictability. And that's whether these guys are actually handsome or not. And, I think one of the main problems with what we see in, not necessarily the Davido situation, because he has money, right? But I think if we're going to look at a guy and how much he earns to decide whether he's of good character or whether he's the prize to be with, then it kind of becomes a sport for women too. Because the guy that they can bag is the prize, right? He's the trophy. They're not going to say that. They're the prize, obviously. But if they can bag a baller like a Brittany Renner has, or someone like that, right? If they have that type of mindset, and they bag someone who's got his own business or someone who's doing financially well, that is a scalp. They're largely going to be enjoying a relationship where they've got that guy at their whim, pretty much, especially if he's infatuated with her or he's in love with her. Now with Davido, he seems to be, like I said, a guy who's very charismatic. He's very popular. He, for a minute, he was everywhere on every remix, on every Afrobeat tune I was hearing, he was on there, right? So this is the problem. When you become that dude where you are hot, you are on and popping, your options are exponential. It's like the adage when they say, if you give these poor kids money for playing pro sports, they're not going to know what to do with it. It's the same with women. A lot of these guys, you know, they're growing up not necessarily being attractive or not necessarily having it charisma wise and all of that. The moment they get it though, they are sport for choice, and money goes to their head, the options, they start to take full advantage of that. So unfortunately, it's something that as men, we need to walk that tightrope every day, because one of the things that I think makes a great man is how humble he is, how self-aware he is, right? Like, you need to know your lane. And I think when it's a case of choosing whether to stay faithful in your relationship or not, Davido, he's married. So I hold him to a different standard as if you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, to be honest. Marriage, you said the vows. Like, I assume he's religious. They had a church wedding and all of that stuff. So for him to be, especially at a time when his wife's grieving, like, he's going to be out here having 2 more kids. Nah, like, that's unforgivable. That's unforgivable. I don't care how much money he got. I don't care how much options he has. Like, that's how you fumble. Because in relationships that lead to children and marriage, when it goes wrong, we are the ones that lose out the most. It's not just time that we lose, but because that protector provider role that's given to us, we lose that when we lose a family or when we lose a child or whatever. So I think, Davido is definitely loose balling. But as I said, I have a lot of smoke for him in a situation. I'm not a fan of his, by most people's standards. But just by his situation, it's so common and it's demoralizing to keep seeing it happen over and over again. The girls want the guy who's hot, who's on and popping, so they can brag about it, post about it. They can have his kid, have a come up from it. They don't have to worry about, certain things for the rest of their lives if it goes well. But at the same time, you got guys like Davido who, man, I don't know how he can be as famous as he is and think he can be creeping around. That just doesn't make sense to me. And the same with Shaq too. Like, I've said this before, like Shaq, how you gonna be 7'1", multi-millionaire from like teenage years, but think you can creep around on your wife who you got 5 kids with? Like, it's decisions like that. There's no justification for it. It's straight stupidity.
Thanks.
Charlene?
Yeah, I've already answered this one, but you said you had a question for me.
I did, yeah. Before that, just to give context on Davido, for those who don't know, he's the son of a billionaire, so he's always had money. He's always been internally that guy. And when he became an artist, he became more or less like the #1 Afrobeats artist in Nigeria, technically the whole of Africa. So he is mega famous. And one of the things that do come with those types of people is that there's lots of women who are gonna stay silent. They just want a piece of something. They just want to say, I've had him. And I know, I'm not going to say for a fact, but before all of this came out, I am aware, just like many artists have, by the way, but I'm aware that there were women here in the UK that he would sleep with whenever he would come here. That's nothing new to me. I've heard many artists, even dating back to B2K days, where there's specific women that I've come across that say, yeah, every time this person comes around, I service him. I'm always there for him, regardless of his situation. So it happens a lot. And Charlene, because you used to work in the music industry, the question I have for you is, would you date someone still now in the music industry? That's of a certain standard.
Absolutely not. But it wasn't for the cheating reason. Artists are never home, and neither are musicians. Your job requires you to travel regularly And I don't want that life. I've had that life for 20 years. I don't want it for myself, and I don't want to be in a relationship like that.
So, regards to the cheating, would you say that because of what you actually just said, is there is the amount of affairs, the amount of cheating, is it at a crazy level that you would advise any woman to be very careful if you're going to get with people who are of this particular standard?
Look, I've been on tours where I know that the artist's security has scouted the crowd, similar to what you were saying, Jay. They have scouted the crowd and brought women to the artist. The artist didn't have to try. I've seen it happen with band members where they weren't, no one was scouting on their behalf. But women flock to these men, right? Whether they're married or not. And as a woman, the treatment is completely different. Men tend to stay away from you, actually, if they see you on stage with a celebrity. They automatically discount you as being out of their league, right? But with men, women flock. And I'm telling you, man, if your man is not in his I'm a king, I want to build with one woman phase of his life, you're finished. Just forget it. Just forget it. Let the man go. Let him live his life in peace. But it's the case of money exposes the traits that were always there and then amplifies them. It just blows them up. So if you had a penchant for being a bit of a player before, chuck $1 million at that and see what happens. Do you know what I mean? It's just wild, off the charts, crazy. And so, yeah, I've seen a lot. It's pretty gross, to be fair. But you have to assess where that man is in his emotional, psychological development. Where is he in his identity? You have to assess these things because the music industry is not for the faint of heart.
I appreciate you, Charlene. And I think the theme earlier was, and I've seen in the comments as well, that as men, just be honest. So I'm going to throw something in there, which we haven't actually mentioned. In the song Assurance, for those who don't know Davido, that's a song dedicated to his wife. And that song was created 5 years ago. But 6 years ago is when he started a relationship with the American lady whose name's Anita. In the actual song, he mentions Anita in saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Max, but I guess she existed, but she can go away. Now I'm going to give you assurance, Choma, that I'm basically here to stay. I'm here for you. So if a man can be this level of honest, are ladies saying that because he's honest, you will still stay, or will you leave? Anyone can jump on the back of that.
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that?
So in the song Assurance, there's a line in there where he mentions Anita, who is the lady in America that says that she's pregnant.
Right.
Coincidence? I mean, come on.
Probably not.
There you go. And she says their relationship, or their whatever you want to call it, started in 2017. So up to a year before this song came out. But that song is dedicated to Choma, who is now his wife. So in the song, he's referencing Anita and saying, I'm going to put her aside. I'm going to give you assurance because you're the one for me. So if a guy is being this level of honest, then to us, it's just a song. I didn't even think about that line until it was mentioned today by Max. But if he has been this level of honest and we don't know what conversations they've had, are you saying you're gonna therefore stay, or will you still leave?
Well, I think personally, it's an age-old adage, and I think it applies. But I think when somebody shows you their true colors and they're honest with you, you should believe them. I think if this, and this kind of goes back to what we were saying before about cheating multiple times versus cheating, for 2 years and stuff. My thing is, if you decide to stay fine. But you are putting yourself in that position to be disrespected again if there isn't any change in behavior. And I think it's almost kind of like, if he had the audacity to make a song like that, why wouldn't he cheat again? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I see it. I'm like, if you had the audacity to go on, make this music and talk about, blatantly open to the world, let everyone know that you were creeping around, there is a level of shame that you don't have for this action. And that's already a warning sign to me. That's already a worrying thing for me. And I think sometimes, you know, it's kind of like what's happening on Love Island with Ella and Tyreek, of he's saying exactly what he's going to do, what he thinks, he's being honest with you. And so because of that, it disarms you a bit. You're like, okay, he's been honest, he's trying to be vulnerable. No, he's priming you. He's priming you so that when he turns around and does something, he can say, well, I did tell you. I didn't lie. I was honest. You know, that's all priming. And I think sometimes if somebody is honest, you just have to take that honesty to the bank, cash the check and leave. That's really what you've got to do. You can't just be like, well, he's being honest, he's being vulnerable. That doesn't mean he's trying to change. That doesn't mean he's just trying to prime you. And so for me personally, I think I would still be like, nah, it's okay. Well, if that's the case, I feel like we're not compatible, and it's fine, because you're literally just putting yourself in a position where if something happens, you're gonna blame yourself, and it's gonna really affect your self-esteem. And I think it's just not worth it. It's not worth your peace. It's not worth any of that, you know. And maybe that's me just being idealistic, but
No, Precious, I agree with you. I'm looking at Love Island every day thinking, what's going on here? Because, and don't forget, you don't win the show by jumping from woman to woman or man to man. You win it by coupling up. So it's in his best interest. But he is not ready to be a one-woman guy. So again, I'm telling you the truth, but you're still sticking around. So can you blame him with whatever decision he's going to make? I want everyone else to go after this, but to give context to America, so I understand you probably don't know much about Davido. After that song came out, they did break up, and I believe it was due to infidelity for a while. No one knew anything until one day, sometime later, some years later, all of a sudden now they're engaged. And since then, everything has been kept extremely quiet until, unfortunately, their son passed away. No one knew he was married, really. There was rumors, but he confirmed it on Drink Champs about 2 weeks ago. That's the first time he's acknowledged it, which is why there's an issue to do with when did he get married? Is he married? What's going on? What's he been doing? But that's the context anyway. But no particular order. Anyone want to go?
Yeah, I can follow. So I agree with what you're saying, Precious, but I feel like the song isn't disrespectful. It's more of him. It's like a song of repentance. So he's saying it like, tell Anita, I'm not going to be engaging with her again. Like he's saying, tell her to go far away. Like I'm not doing that again. Chioma's my lover. But I think the challenge is, they say that people, when you apologize and you don't change, it's a form of manipulation. So this idea of him saying, I'm giving you assurance, I'm giving you a lifetime insurance, how? Because he didn't marry her after the song. I don't know, or maybe they had a private agreement, or he put something in a will or in her name, because what assurance did you give her? If the issue was a woman, how did you then assure her following that? Or is it that, again, you manipulated with the glitz and the glam and, okay, but I'm going to put you in the song, though, because we know that she was in the song. So it kind of is giving, is this a level of manipulation? Did you know that, something Charlene said about, did you know she wasn't really going to go if you dangled a few things in front of her? So it is concerning. It is like, I don't think there's really true repentance in his case. I think it is about opportunity. From when we're hearing France and America, come on now, like what's going on? Like it's not even local babes, like you're you're international. That's crazy. So yeah, I do think that I think the song is nice, but I don't think it's enough. And I think when you look at the song in light of the behavior afterwards, I don't think it's sincere.
That's why I think it's even more disrespectful, honestly, because you clearly had no intention of trying to change. That song was just straight.
Do we know that though?
I mean, my thing is, you literally have clearly. I mean, granted, I will say allegedly because I don't know, but you've known this girl now for this amount of time. She's now confirmed, or at least to her point, she's confirming that I've known you since even before this song came out, and this has been the case. So that means he was caught. He was caught in that aspect, and that's why he made that song. Now, fast forward to 2023, now she's pregnant with your baby. I mean, at that point, it's that thing of, I don't know, it feels to me you had no intention of trying to stop any form of interaction with this woman. And to the fact that she's now pregnant, that's a whole now level of disrespect. And even now looking back at that, I just know if it was me, I would feel even more disrespected. You know? And I think I get that, like, because also take into consideration, he could have done that song without even mentioning Anita. It could have been a song where I love you, I'm here for you, I'm assuring you, you're my girl. This Justin Timberlake did the whole album for his wife, a whole 2-side album for his wife. Not once did he ever mention cheating on anyone. So my thing is like, you can do that. You could use that song to really get her in your good books and show her that you love her without mentioning that girl. But you did that because you wanted to. It just feels, I don't know, it feels icky. It feels icky to me now. And knowing that that's the same girl, it feels icky. And that's why for me, I feel like it's even more disrespectful, because it's like you could have just made that song about Chioma instead of even mentioning Mia. But so I don't know. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, am I wrong? Like, am I overthinking this?
Nah, I'm kind of in agreement with you when you say that, because if you actually have changed, have reformed, why would you want to give attention to someone from your past and even allude them in your song like that? Why? Because all you end up doing, you're now opening up to all sort of people interpreting that, oh, was she referencing towards that person in the past? And now they're putting 2 and 2 together. And now in this particular situation in a relationship right now, we're just out there and open. Personally speaking, I wouldn't give somebody like that the time of the day if I've necessarily changed. Now, who knows? And I'll say something towards honesty. I think I put in our private chat that just because you're honest, for the woman, this is the challenge. There's a balance between whether you accept what the person is telling you and do with it as you will, or would you, because honesty shouldn't guarantee someone you giving them the time of day. But because someone is bold enough to tell you something that is immoral, and they say it is what it is, some guys, they know how to weaponize that. Oh, just to test the waters to see if this girl is actually going to still go ahead with it. It always comes back to the intent of what a person is doing when he's being honest with his lifestyle, right? It always comes back to you being discerning to say, yes, he's honest, but do I accept this? Am I going to accept being with somebody like that? So that's how I would kind of see it. Bottom line is, Jay, I know he talked about cheating. I actually want to, Jay, so if I give my 2 cents about the whole cheating aspect of things, I'm gonna say this. Personally speaking, I've seen in experiences when it comes to my personal life, what happens when an allegation of you cheating in a relationship, what it does to you, what it does to the people around you. Personally speaking, it's not worth it for any man or woman. It's just not worth the emotional hassle that comes along with it. It's not worth it. It's not worth you messing up the trust that you have with someone, because once that trust is broken, it is so difficult to put back together. Now, the person who was done dirty in the relationship has to question everything about themselves. Why did I get cheated on? Was it something to do with me? Like, the emotional hassle that comes along with you putting somebody in that type of situation is not worth the risk. The amount of tears that you can make a person cry because of that situation, personally speaking, it's not worth it, just for the sake of being able to have your instant gratification, have your cake and eat it too. It's not worth the long-term effects. And then when you bring children into it, how can children ever look at you the same, especially if you're someone who always spouses about principles? But yet, in this instance, you failed to protect the person that you're with in terms of their emotions, because you've damaged the emotional security when it comes to being in a relationship, whether you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, whether you're married. So for Davido, him doing what he did, he's messed up in regards to damaging the emotional security when it comes to Chioma. She can't look at him the same now because of what he did in the past. And I think this is the thing. Because of society right now, they're high value, so it should be expected for highly desirable men to be cheating in this space, but it shouldn't be. And as long as that stigma continues, we're always going to see more behaviors like this. It's very rare that you get guys that have the money, that have the status, and are still able to maintain a level of humility. I mean, only two people I know so far, Chadwick Boseman and Denzel Washington, people that are humble, right? But there has never been any inclination of any infidelity. We wouldn't know about that. And I guess there's a level, because I think they have biblical principles, because they're Christians as well, and it seems that they were practicing Christians in their faith. They try as much as possible to not even put themselves in situations. But like I said, if you give somebody who's never had power, watch how they abuse it. But in this case, Davido, like you said, Jay, he grew up rich. So unfortunately, that's no excuse for him either. So that's it.
Hold on, Max. I just want Charlene and JR to go first. Charlene?
Can I ask, what is the question on the table?
There isn't one. We're just responding to what each other are saying. But
Okay.
what are your views on the specific situation with the Davido and the Choma situation? Because I now look at it as she's been aware of many things throughout the 5 years, 6 years, however long it's been. He's made certain promises. He hasn't kept to them. Should she have expected him to, keep to those promises, considering who he is and who he was before she came along? Should she have left? Should she stay? What should she do now?
I was thinking about this actually throughout this discussion, because I've spoken a lot about primal instincts in this discussion, the primal instinct of a man. And I think one of the primal instincts of a woman is to be secure, to feel safe. And that can take the form of being financially looked after. And so in this case, it just sounds like, because I'm assuming that she's being looked after financially, that you have to kind of weigh that up against the cheating. And if you were to leave, could you fend for yourself? Could you fend for yourself in the manner to which you're accustomed, right? And the answer to that might be no. So that might be one of the reasons why she stayed. And I think somebody said they've got children. Is that correct? That might be another factor. So it's not a case of should she stay or should she go. She might just be trying to survive. Do you know what I mean? if she leaves the house, then what's she going to do? She might literally just trying to survive. And she might trying to make this relationship work because she does love him and all of the rest of it. But I've been questioning to myself whether one thing I've seen in guys who have cheated, and like accounts of friends, even movies that I've watched, there's always this massive not repentance, like contrition, that's the word. This massive contrition when they get caught, like, I'm so sorry I did that thing. But I know that for men and women, love and respect are different. And I think it just comes down to, if you respected the woman, you wouldn't have cheated on her in the first place. You love her, and you may not want the relationship to end, but I think it really is very, very logical. If you cheat, it's because you don't respect her. There's an element of you that doesn't respect her. That's just how I see it.
Thank you, Charlene. Jaya?
Yeah, go agree with Charlene there. Listen, if a man's gonna step out on his wife, and yeah, he doesn't respect her, and then to be loose balling, where you got one girl in France and another girl in America talking about they got your baby or wherever they are. Listen, man, there's no justification for it. He can't respect his wife. If he wanted to date other girls, he should have left his wife and suffer the penalty for doing that, which is probably losing some of his finances, his assets, and some of the stuff they accrue together. But to want to keep her and have these two other side babies, that's just a madness. I think like one of the things that that is quite understated is how much of a drain of not only your finances, but also your physical energy and your mental energy it must be to run around and, play around with all these girls. Like, I hate to be crass, but, when a guy is finished, like, he's drained. He's usually wiped out. So to be running around with 2-3 different girls, 4 girls, and, you're spending all that money and all that time and all that, that's to me, that's long. I don't know how people did. I don't know how they've got jobs. I don't know how they've got careers, and they're still running around doing all that type of stuff. It amazes me. But yeah, listen. Like I said, I don't have no sympathy for this Davido guy. From when he's in a marriage, especially as the child situation that he lost. It isn't like he was cheating in the past. Yeah, he might have known the girl 6 years ago. It's present because she's pregnant now. She's not pregnant 6 years ago. She's pregnant now. So that news that you enlightened me with, that he wrote a song all them years ago, and he mentioned the side chick in the song, talking about how he's gonna stay with his wife. That makes it even worse. So now no one can tell me that she didn't know that he didn't have no other girls, or he wasn't married. The side chicks knew. Man made a song about it. And he was brazen enough and dumb enough. Listen, all right, Charlene knows, but I'm sure everybody else knows the process of songwriting, right? You have to have an idea, think it sounds catchy. You go and dry down in your notepad, you find a beat, you rehearse it multiple times. You mean to tell me, man sat there spitting hundreds and hundreds of times about his side chick and his current wife, and producers and everything was like, yeah, let's find a beat for that, bro. And they put that out there. And then it went on heavy rotation for all of us to hear it, potentially. That's just mad to me, bro. I can't subscribe to that level of stupidity. I'm sorry. So yeah, as much peas as he made, as much money as he made, he's a damn fool, to be honest with you. Because if Chioma, or whatever her name is, if she decides to, I'm sure she's very hurt right now. I'm sure their household is not a happy, quiet household. And it shouldn't be. And, you know, I hope she does leave. Because if he really loves her that much, he wouldn't have done it. If she leaves, that's the penalty he has to pay for his reckless actions. Having 2 girls pregnant while you're married is uncondonable. That's not even 1, but to have 2, now you're crazy. Crazy. I don't know much about him, and I don't rate him. But I wouldn't advise or recommend any guy follow that recipe to success, because it's not. It's a downward spiral. And, you know, this isn't just a question of not being able to control your urges. This is someone deliberately, over a large span of years, you know, dipping and chipping and changing between the different women. And now he has 2 babies on the way. Listen, he's got to just tough it out and fork out for them kids, man. And hopefully they don't grow up too damaged by the situation that he's created.
I think you've made a great point, you know, JR, because I mean, I didn't know the details about this case. I wasn't here for the very beginning of the discussion, right? But when I hear you speak about it, JR, I'm just thinking the entitlement. It takes audacity, you know, to do all of this foolishness. It takes audacity because you have been allowed and enabled from way before this situation happened. I will guarantee you that there are other areas of his life where he has this same gumption, audacity, and entitlement. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And it just sounds like he's been allowed to get away with all of this crap for a long time. And when you brought up the whole songwriting process, it's just, as the Jamaicans say, it's just puppy show at this point. You're just creating content to entertain people about the thing that hurt your woman, your wife, should I say. And this is just even more entitlement and foolishness. And yeah, it's just crazy.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I was saying. Like, it just feels like the utmost disrespect, the utmost audacity. And I think for me, what really kills me the most is the fact that this woman lost her child at the end of last year, and now you've gotten 2 other people pregnant while she's still grieving for the loss of her child. Like, I feel like that's a caveat. That's a cherry on top that just takes, like, the cheating itself is already disrespectful. As people have mentioned, the making the song and the music and all that, that's already a level of disrespect. But to take into consideration that, and granted, these women are quite early on in their pregnancy, so this was after that child had died, and you got 2 other women pregnant while your wife is grieving for her child. That's a level of I don't respect my wife that I've never seen in my entire life before. Like, it's not even about love now. It's about just pure respect he has none for his wife at all.
You know something else, Precious? Now that you say that, I'm just like, what kind of model has he been shown? Does he think this is normal? Like, you know, when something's been modeled for you, you think that is normal, that's reality. And yes, you're going to hurt your woman, but you've seen your dad do it, your uncles, no one in your family is faithful. Things like this, they cause me to wonder, you know. It's crazy.
Just to jump in, I would say the accountability of a rich man is different. And I definitely think culture plays a part in it as well, in terms of like how much discipline how much discipline has been required of him, being growing up as a rich boy. And I don't know if you guys know, but him and Chuma met at university, so it's quite young love in that sense. And then Tubaba and Annie, she was quite young when they were together as well. So I do think you see that pattern, don't you, when women get with these men when they're quite young, and they become like not necessarily their first love, but a deep love for them, and then it's like you latch onto them. I'm completely with Precious about the child situation as well. It's like Davido has other children, but unfortunately, it was Chilma's child. Well, unfortunately, a child has passed away, and it was her child. And I think that him actually getting these women pregnant is potentially the breaking point of the relationship. I mean, many women would have left way before then, but this surely must be a breaking point, because it is a level of harm and disregard that is just on a different level. But yeah, if she stays past this, boy, really, she's gonna need some sort of support. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll be wrapping up shortly, but I'll give my final thought. So I think for me, what we're seeing now is that the destructive behavior of men outside of their covenant is of which brings harm to their covenant is now being called out. And we're able to look at these things as an example of look how much pain and harm not only are you causing, but we can also see where does this stem from. Because I think you was absolutely right, JR. Like if she met him in 2017 and 2018 is where this song came out, she would have known something. I can imagine this is the guy I'm sleeping with. Do you know him? I'm going to show you his music videos. At that point, Assurance was, if you knew Afrobeats at the time, that was a big song, absolutely big song. Everyone loved it because it was a romantic song. To be honest, that line where Anita was mentioned went completely over my head until today. I honestly thought it was just a nice song, but now I'm like, wow, okay. It absolutely is crazy. So she definitely knew something. Whether she knew he was married or not, which probably, I think most people probably believe he got married last year, is a different story. You know, we all know there's a lot of people that get married back home. When they come over to the UK or the US, I mean, they will not say anything and they'll get into relationships, they'll marry other people. So it's highly possible that things were kept quiet because it wasn't on social media. No one knew anything. No one saw a glamorous wedding. No one knew anything until he confirmed it on Drink Champs only 12 days ago. However, what we're seeing, I think, you know, Charlene, you actually mentioned it, is this like a lifetime of this type of behavior because of the type of, I guess, cloth he comes from, having access to everything from childhood. He's an artist by choice because he wanted to. He can be anything that he wanted to be. I think he went to university here in the UK, university in America as well, where he got his bit of his American twang from. He decided to be an artist and therefore embracing all that comes with it. What we're seeing with sports people when they are with their childhood sweethearts, they also have to endure a lot of this nonsense as well. And most of them still stay. Um, and it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of NDAs, the injunctions that are out there. It's absolutely crazy what a lot of women have had to go through just to stay with the men that they love. And we're talking about at this level. Forget about men who haven't got that money. But at this level, it's absolutely crazy. So I agree with all of you. And I just see this whole situation as quite disheartening for a lot of people who looked at their situation as couple goals or their situation as okay, a man who knows his true love. Because at this point, where does it leave them as a couple? Where does it leave people? Where does it leave people who are thinking, is it possible to actually find true love and actually be in a healthy, happy, and faithful relationship? But final thoughts, Max.
No, I think we've talked about this one, man. We've taken it in many different directions. I just think that way more accountability is needed, and really what I think we're seeing as a society is that the seeds that are sown in people's singleness are just bearing fruit in their marriages. And so we just need to sow better seeds to get better fruit.
Thank you, Max. Beautiful. Precious?
Yeah, honestly, I agree. I think people need to really learn what it is. I think there's a preconception about relationships that are, prevalent, and I think people aren't taking just the basic skills of how to be in a healthy relationship, and they're not learning that, and it's carrying on. And it just makes me feel sad, because I think, yes, everyone wants to have that healthy relationship where they're happy, they find their person, they can make a beautiful life together, have kids, whatever. And although we're not in those spaces with these celebrities that are doing this craziness, the reality is that this is the kind of stuff that is still happening among us commoners. So I think it's a situation, it just makes you feel really sad when you see that people just don't regard but these kind of connections that you can build with someone else is important. They don't value it, and it's not sacred to them, regardless of what belief system you're assigned to. Even as an atheist, people still see relationships and these things as sacred and as important, and at least something that you should take with high regard. And so seeing that people aren't taking that is quite sad. And you just think about how many people struggle with just being lonely and being by themselves, and struggle with the idea of not having that person. And then to think that this person has found someone who cares about them, who wants to ride or die with them, and they're just treating them like something on their shoe. It really just makes you feel sad to see that human beings can't see the benefits of fully 100% being committed to somebody and the beauty that can create. And so it is really sad to see that. And I guess I just hope that more people can heal and be able to find their way into a healthy relationship that makes them happy and makes them feel fulfilled, and to feel like they've got a person with them that is that person for life. And the reality is it's across the board, whether you're black, white, Asian, Latino, whatever, it's happening across the board, and it's just sad. So hopefully, as we continue to have these conversations and people continue to think and heal and engage in that process of developing, that we see these things less and less.
Thank you, Precious. JL?
Yeah, I'll just say, like, if you're marriage minded, if you're relationship minded, you want to build life, make life with someone, and you value it, then when you have the opportunity to get it, keep it. Don't waste it. Don't squander it. The rebuilding process after it goes wrong, yeah, that can be very tough and can take a long time to fully recover from. But this Davido guy is not representative of all men. And the women that he's messing with outside of his marriage aren't representative of all women. This is their situation. And although people may have seen things similar with many other entertainers and celebrities, and maybe even in their own personal lives, they know people, but don't get demoralized into thinking that it's going to be like this for everybody. It isn't. So continue to have hope and faith that you can find the person that is special to you, that will treat you well, you treat them well, and it's effortless and it's reciprocated, and hopefully your relationship, marriage, union, families will be happy and successful. and not just financially successful, but successful in terms of the minerals that are required to have a balanced upbringing for any children that come into play, and a balanced relationship in terms of how the both of you interact with each other on a daily basis while you do life with each other. So that's my thoughts.
Welcome back, Dr. Kojo. Charlene?
What I would say is you really need to be discerning about who you're with and what stage he is in his life. And if you see those signs where he really gets his ego stroked with female attention, you have to really assess how safe and secure you really are, even if he is paying your bills. And I think that there are so many women out there, if not all of us actually, that have these superpowers of intuition. We just know stuff. And by the way, I wanted to say this earlier, that even if you don't tell us that you've cheated, we already know. We just don't have it verified yet, but we know if you've cheated. We will dream about you. We can feel it, especially if we cultivate a connection with God. We know you've cheated. So you're doing damage even if you don't tell us. But I'm just saying, use your superpowers, ladies, for your good. Don't doubt it. Trust yourself, and you will understand who he is. Amen.
Thank you, Charlene. I'll give my final thoughts, and then Cole, you can wrap up. I think, to me, I just want to talk to my guys. Regardless of what you want or what you feel is biological or whatever it is, you have to understand how much destruction you input into the world by this behavior. And it's part of the reasons why we are here. And I say part because, again, the time that we live in, there's a lot of women who are just as complicit in the nonsense. So we have to address that too and work backwards. But looking at where things started from, and I'm not one to start blaming governments and the powers that be and all this stuff. I'm not, or conspiracy theorists. I'm not that type of person. I'm a realist, and I look at it as ladies feel the way they feel for a reason. For a reason. And as guys, we have to understand, what are we teaching our children? What are we just showing the world in terms of our output beyond entertainment? So it does boil down to just be honest if this is the way you want to be. But ladies, if a man is honest and he's showing you who he is, you have to ask yourself a question: why are you staying? Why do you continue in this situation? Because there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. There's no. There's no guarantee, that he is going to change. He has to show you certain things that he has never shown you before, and it's a hard road to climb from. And I think us dealing with trauma, us dealing with psychological issues, is underestimated, the level of the level of where that goes. And even from a cultural point of view, if you understand Africa, there's many women, there's many aunties who are dealing with this on a daily basis, and they will swear to you they will never leave their marriage. You are crazy for telling them to leave their marriage. Where am I gonna go? It is better I stay married to this man than if I was to leave. And they'll even insult you. How dare you come and say anything? So again, understanding it in context, I look at it this way: Davido's definitely doing what he's been shown, and he's definitely doing what he believes is him. It's just that there's a conflict there where he felt he had to give Choma a different side than what most uncles or fathers would give their wives. But unfortunately, it's out there now for us to talk about, out there for us to look at. So, we have to look at it properly and say, is this serving us as people? And to me, it's not. But that's my final thoughts. Kojo?
Yeah, man. Listen, I didn't get to hear any of the conversation because I was obviously on mute and I had work to do. But listen, it sounded like you guys had a really great conversation. I was looking at the chat, so They were giving me some feedback as to what was going on. So it looks like it was a very productive conversation, and y'all were making some really good points. But I do feel like this is a bigger, wider conversation in terms of integrity and people being integrous in their relationships. And again, man to man, as you said, Jay, similar to you, want everybody to know as a man, look, you have so much power, but that also means so much responsibility. You want to steward your family in the right way. So if you're for the streets, stay on the streets. Don't come out here and trying to be monogamous when you ain't got the monogamous bone in your system. You know what I mean? Like, just don't do it, because it just wastes everybody's time and gets people caught up and people hurt. But I think people need to be responsible and know just that, cheating is one of those things that psychologically also damages the other person that you're in a relationship with as well. So, once you've broken that china plate, it's very hard to put that china plate back. So, honestly, great conversation. I'm sure we will honestly have more conversations like this as well. I appreciate the panelists as well for coming through and showing out. Just a reminder as well, everyone let everyone know where they can find you and connect with you, or if you have any projects that you're doing that you want people to get behind. If you don't want anyone to find you, then that's cool. You don't say anything, but just really quickly, just let them know where they can find you and stuff, and then we'll be out of the door. Precious, I'll let you go first because you got IG in the bio already. So
yeah, you can find me on Instagram at my handle there. I don't have any projects to promote. Maybe I should think of something for the future.
Okay.
But yeah, honestly, it was great to have a conversation, and I think that it's nice to be able to speak to everyone and just get new bits of information and change and think of things in different ways. So yeah, it's always been fun.
Love that. Charlene?
Yeah, you can find me at Charlene, the Vocal Alchemist, pretty much everywhere, on every single platform. I've got loads of resources if you want to use your voice to make money in business and at work. Get that promotion and that pay rise, baby.
Love that. JR?
Hey, you can find me on JRX TV on YouTube. Also, JRX TV and VIP training on Instagram. Check me out.
Love that, JR. Thank you very much. Max?
Max, you can find me here.
Why do you do that, Max? It's like you're so. Whenever you talk about where to find you, you're so blunt. Like, what is this? We love you. We love you, and we want to follow you. What is this madness?
I'm literally here right now. Reach out.
He said this is as far as it goes. Jay?
My Instagram is, as you see it, Jay Anderson King, and my YouTube is Kingdom in Need of God. Kingdom in Need of God is my men's ministry. There's 2 videos on there. I haven't promoted it properly yet, so I'm just trying to chop it up, and then once I've built momentum with other videos I'm recording, then I'm just gonna throw it onto my Instagram and everywhere else. But please follow me in Jay Anderson King. I started posting on there in general anyway. Just thank you for the support in advance. Thank you for supporting this channel. The conversation's been amazing. Thank you, everyone, as usual. I really do feel this is the core, the core panel. I love each and every one of you, all of your opinions. Agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. We just have good conversation. Thank you, Kojo, as well, for bringing us all together.
It's a pleasure. Listen, audience, it's been amazing. It's been good. It's been great. It's been powerful. It's been a conversation, and we've appreciated the convo. It's been fun. And listen, we just want to have some real conversations around here and be able to chop it up and talk some real stuff. So, man, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. And we'll be back here next Wednesday again, and we'll have some more riveting conversations. Hopefully, Davido, he will not embarrass us any further. Banky W will get a resolution on whether he is doing something mad. And hopefully to Baba, yeah, that one's lost. But anyway, listen. I'm winding. Let's hope for him. Let's hope for him. Let's hope for him. But listen, if you're new to the channel, do massive favor, like this video, share it, subscribe it. If you haven't done so already. Also, don't forget you can join the membership as well. We have exclusive conversations as well for members. We do that every like 2 weeks. So the next one is in 2 weeks' time as well. And listen, hey, I just wanted to say this, send out this PSA, you know. Listen, guys, I'm single, enter the DMs. You know what I mean? I just want to say it. Listen, okay, since we've been talking about cheating all day, I don't be a cheater. Okay, all right, but give me the assurance. You know what I'm saying? Give me the assurance. You know what I mean? So if your name is not Anita, your name is not Shioma, then listen, if you come and enter the DMs, by all means, I'll entertain and say hello, you know, enjoy the time. But yeah, guys, we're gonna go. Oh, wait, did you guys discuss the lyrics? You actually discussed it because I didn't know if you did. You discussed it, fantastic.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Men are actually mad. All right, cool. So love and peace, guys, and we'll see you again soon. I meant what I said. Enter my DMs, guys. I'm single. So see you again soon. Hey, don't forget, you gotta leave here with something. You gotta leave here with something, guys.
I'm so tired of you.
I'm just saying, you know, I really mean what I'm saying, though. Do you know what I mean? But,
we know. That's what.
Oh my God.
I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
With something, guys, and I will be.